Welcome to Time of Death. This video is for informational purposes and in no way meant to glorify or condone violence. In today's video, we'll be discussing the murder of Arturo Alvarez. Alvarez died on Tuesday, July 7, 2009, after being shot near the 10200 block of Kaufman Avenue in Southgate, according to LA County coroner records. Esteban Lepe, Noé Baeza, and Robert Benavides were subsequently arrested and charged with the murder. The following is the evidence at trial. Victim Arturo Alvarez was a member of 38th Street. Alvarez, his wife Erica Castro, their two children, and Alvarez's parents lived in a house on Kaufman Avenue in Southgate. About 12:30 or 12:50 a.m. on July 7, 2009, Alvarez, Castro, and their children were asleep in the living room. Alvarez's parents were asleep in a bedroom. Alvarez, Castro, and their children were awakened by banging outside the front door. Someone said FBI opened the door. Alvarez, Castro, their children, and Alvarez's mother went to one of the bedrooms. Castro heard two gunshots. Two men dressed in black and wearing masks entered the bedroom. The men were armed with long rifle-type weapons. One or both of the men issued an order to get on the floor. A third man entered the room. One of the men told Alvarez's mother that her son was a fugitive of the law. One of the men picked up Alvarez from the floor. Alvarez's hands were secured behind his back, and the men took Alvarez out of the bedroom. As they were leaving, one of the men said into a radio or phone, "We got suspect." At about 12:50 a.m. on July 7, 2009, Southgate Police Department Officer Robert Pellerin was in his police car near the intersection of Atlantic and Michigan Avenues when he received a call of shots fired on Kaufman Avenue. The call included a description of a tan van. Immediately after receiving the call, Officer Pellerin saw a van that matched the vehicle described in the call. Officer Pellerin followed the van onto the 710 freeway. He pulled up next to the van and shined his spotlight through the driver's window. Esteban Lepe was driving the van. The van transitioned onto other freeways before exiting on Rosecrans Boulevard. At some point, the van reached the intersection of Broadway and 124th Street, where it slowed down and a man jumped out. Officer Pellerin activated his emergency lights and siren, but the van did not stop. Instead, the van accelerated. The van slowed again when it reached the intersection of Spring and 123rd Streets. A second man jumped out of the van. LA County Sheriff Department Deputy Daryl Edwards responded to a report that a kidnapping suspect had fled from a vehicle and had run to an area on 121st Street between Bremerton and Spring Streets. A Sheriff Department's airship advised Deputy Edwards and other responding deputies that the suspect was hiding behind the porch of a residence on West 121st Street. There, Deputy Edwards took the suspect, whom he identified as Robert Benavides, into custody. When the van reached the intersection of 55th Street and Figueroa, the van slowed and Noé Baeza jumped out. Baeza surrendered to California Highway Patrol Officer Eric Beltran and his partner. At the intersection of Hoover and 55th Street, a California Highway Patrol unit employed a pursuit-ending measure called the pit maneuver to stop the van. The van's driver got out and ran. He entered the back door of a house on 55th Street. Sheriff Department deputies ordered out the occupants of the house. Esteban Lepe and other persons who appeared to be members of his family came out of the house. Sheriff's Department Deputy Louis Aguilera assisted in the investigation of Alvarez's kidnapping and murder. He found Alvarez in the back of the van. There was duct tape wrapped around Alvarez's face and head. His hands and feet were bound with Ziploc flex cuffs. Blood spatter on the inside of the rear hatch indicated that Alvarez had been killed inside the van. Deputy Aguilera found in the van a 9mm shell casing, various firearms including 4 handguns, 1 shotgun, and 1 rifle and ammunition. He also found in the van 5 flak vests, gloves, and 2 ski masks. Sheriff's Department deputies examined Alvarez's house. On the front porch, they found 2 12-gauge shotgun shell casings. Deputy Medical Examiner Dr. Kevin Young performed the autopsy on Alvarez's body. He testified that Alvarez suffered 2 gunshot wounds to his head. Each wound was fatal. He recovered a projectile from Alvarez's body associated with each gunshot wound. Sheriff's Department Deputy Dale Fallican testified for the prosecution as a firearms expert. Deputy Fallican testified that a Smith & Wesson handgun found in the van fired the 9mm shell casing found in the van. The handgun also fired the bullets that the coroner recovered from Alvarez's body. At about 11:25 a.m. on July 7, 2009, Sheriff's Department Detective Wayne Holston and his partner Sergeant Steve Rubino interviewed Benavides. A recording of the interview was played for the jury at trial. Benavides' jury was provided a transcript of the interview to read while they listened to the recording. Benavides said that he was walking down the street at about 11 p.m. or midnight when a van pulled up and a man inside asked if he wanted to get some money. The man said that he and others were going to go into a house. Although reluctant at first, Benavides got into the van. Inside, there were 5 or 6 men dressed in masks. There were guns in the van. Sergeant Rubino expressed doubt that Benavides just happened to be walking along when the van pulled up and its occupants asked Benavides if he wanted to make some money. Sergeant Rubino suggested that other suspects were in custody and they would talk, and said that Benavides needed to tell him what happened. Benavides said he would tell the truth. He said that about a week earlier, he saw a 38th Street gang member named Grumps at a swap meet. He had been in Chino with Grumps before Grumps was paroled. Grumps told Benavides that he had some work for him. Benavides understood the work to be robbing Grumps' homeboy. They said it was money, not a guy. Benavides was told they would split 50 G's. Grumps gave Benavides a phone number to call. At about 10 p.m., they called Benavides and asked if he was ready. They picked him up at an El Pollo Loco restaurant. Benavides said that when he entered the van, they gave him gloves and they also gave him a handgun, which he grabbed with the gloves. At the house, Benavides was given a sledgehammer which he used to strike the door, but he could not open it. He said to his companions, let's jam, fuck that, let's jam. One of the men shot the door and Benavides' companions went inside. Benavides did not want to join them, but did. Benavides walked out when he encountered 2 ladies and children. He also said he walked out when the other 2 men brought out the guy. Benavides denied that the other 2 men shot the kidnapped victim while Benavides was in the van. Following his trial, the jury convicted Esteban Lepe of first-degree murder, kidnapping, first-degree burglary, and evading an officer. The court sentenced defendant to life in prison without the possibility of parole plus 25 years to life. Defendants Noé Baeza and Robert Benavides were tried together before separate juries. The juries found Baeza and Benavides guilty of first-degree murder, kidnapping, first-degree burglary, and being a felon in possession of a firearm. The court sentenced Baeza and Benavides to state prison for life without the possibility of parole plus 55 years to life. Arturo Alvarez was 34 years old at the time of death.